My man Peon released a video. What is this? Peon has been active. Let's see. This is fairly new, I guess. I think it's like I don't know. Yeah, an hour ago-ish. Let's see, 2 hours. 1 hour. Yeah, 1 hour ago. Let's see what people are saying. Concepts of leveling in endgame and how the perception around them changes what has been killing them most for me. It used to be that a developer would craft a world you could live in. There wasn't some arbitrary slog to get to whatever repeatable, mindless content that suits mathed out to provide the suits mathed out to provide the most engagement. MMOs aren't what they used to be. Bro, big truths. They become run-of-the-mill multiplayer battle royales and co-op action RPGs with a mandatory no content slog of bad dialogue to skip through for 60 hours where you can play. That is what is hidden behind the MMO buzzword. It used to be that your journey was the content. Every time I hear endgame content, I tune out. What an arbitrary term. If we are just shifting goalposts from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, then the end of the game is now the beginning, yeah? So what's the point of calling it endgame content? What's the point of the beginning game? Just cut it out. Oh wait, they want to sell you boosters to cut out the garbage walls they put in the way, and the cycle repeats. Bro, big truths, man. There we go. Somebody who understands. How does anyone look at this and go, yeah, this is fine and makes sense? Majority of the RuneScape player base was free to play back in the day. RuneScape was a giant in the MMO genre. What endgame was there for free to play people that kept them invested? Oh wait, RuneScape endgame didn't matter. Being in the world and being invested in the journey was what everyone now calls endgame. There wasn't an arbitrary 1 to 60, the game was just an experience. It may blow everyone's mind, but the majority of MMO players don't give two iotas... Two shits. I don't know why iotas about endgame. The tryhards and min-maxers are always the minority player base. That's why these games keep dying while old school RuneScape grows. Is it growing though? New World blew up because it felt like RuneScape, but the world that seemed good ended up being pretty shallow. Everyone acting like 913,000 people wanted endgame content, and that's why the game started dying out. LOL. No, y'all just vocal. I don't know about the last part. I don't think RuneScape is growing. I get that he likes RuneScape, but I agree with him on the sense that's like, it needs to feel like an adventure. It needs to feel like the leveling part is good content, like you are advancing in the world. That's why also, like, I do like certain very old school MMORPGs that are not MMORPGs anymore because no one plays them, but I do like them because it's like that sense of growth and stuff like that. What I love the most in old MMOs is rebirth systems. Probably my favorite thing. I miss the days MMO were revolutionary and each had their own unique thing going on. Now I feel like I play the same game with a different art style. You should interview some creators to get some backstories on games or just in general the industry perspective in MMOs. I think you would be able to produce that kind of content because of your viewership and will be able to hold you through games. The genre suffers from an extreme case of trope overload. The only real difference between games is how well the same old systems are implemented. Once you've played one fantasy MMORPG, you've essentially played them all. True. Yep, pretty true. That makes me hope Ashes of Creation turns out as good as it seems that it will. It'll be nice breath of fresh air, and if so. We'll see.
The glory days of MMORPGs. Back when you were dropped in what felt like a completely unexplored world with infinite possibilities. You spawned into the game for the first time, and there was instantly a feeling of mystery.
Yeah, I do miss that, but I can't get that from... The only time I got this was from Elden Rings. Like, in the last 10 years. Elden Ring is probably the only time I got that feeling of, like, I want to explore shit. I don't want to go to the boss. I want to go around and explore shit. Yeah.
Quest for a bit, see some high levels hanging out near the starting area, wearing their epic gear, and it'd inspire you to keep playing to eventually obtain that same badass gear.
Boss.
Cosmetics from a cash shop and transmog wasn't a thing back then, remember? Every game felt like a new adventure, every character meaningful, with people potentially recognizing you in a capital city within server communities. The glory days of MMOs felt so magical because the games were huge, the music was epic.
The only reason you would recognize people is because the games were not huge. That's why. Because there was like a numbered amount of people.
And for most of us, these were our first open world multiplayer experiences.
Yeah.
But not all of it is nostalgia. The success of classic WoW iterations and old school RuneScape show that older design philosophies were...
Can you call classic WoW a success when no one plays it anymore? It's like, yeah, they moved to Wrath, but do you think after Wrath they're gonna go back to like vanilla? They're gonna go back to TBC? Kinda doubt it. And Blizzard will be standing there, not sure if they should release Cataclysm or not. Because Cataclysm is not that good.
Whilst outdated and used differently nowadays, can still appeal to a large audience. Even the forefathers of MMOs like Ultima Online or EverQuest still see a lot of people going back to the private servers just to experience that classic style of MMO design, where your choices were impactful.
There were less people. I would say even classic WoW, you would probably enjoy classic WoW, like vanilla WoW, more on the private server than you would on the retail server. Because there's less people. You have more of a community sense in there.
Progression felt meaningful, and social interaction was more abundant. I'd consider the MMO glory days to be the time period from roughly 1999 to 2012. The release of World of Warcraft in 2004 elevated this time period significantly though. These years, starting from Ultima Online, EverQuest, RuneScape to WoW, and so many more that I can't...
it sucks no one knows the forthcoming, man. Such a good game.
...list, created a highly competitive and, most importantly, incredibly motivated market. People loved MMOs, and developers wanted to be a part of this new virtual world phenomenon. Just from 2004 to 2005, 31 new mmoRPGs were released, ranging from Dofus and Metin 2 to World of Warcraft and Guild Wars 1. In 2021, we saw Elion and New World release. Elion died pretty much instantly, and New World has had its fair share of struggles, to say the least. In 2022, we've only really had Lost Ark. Throne and Liberty by NCSoft was supposed to release at the end of the...
To be fair, the West had Lost Ark. Lost Ark has been out since 2013, so can't really call it a new game. It's like saying, well, we had Shadowlands.
Year, but is delayed till 2023.
Yeah.
So as an MMO content creator, I've really had to scrape the bottom of the barrel the past few years.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like MMOs peaked around WoW's Wrath of the Lich King expansion that saw a peak sub count of 12 million players, and this was at a time when way less people had access to PCs capable of running large MMO-like games.
Yep.
In today's gaming market, if we had a new MMO phenomenon as big as WoW was at its peak, surely that player count would be at least double due to the growth of gaming as a whole. So what happened? And what would need to happen to MMOs for us to go through another time period where MMORPGs are the hype genre again?
I'd say VR. A proper VR MMORPG. And yeah, some people say Zenith. I played Zenith. It's fine, but it's not it. Like, the graphics are not there yet. It's like Minecraft-ish, right? But a proper VR MMORPG, bro. And by proper, I mean, like, first of all, develop the VR systems to, like, not only have remotes, but also connect it to your legs, so you move your character side. So, but again, like, you'll need a treadmill for that. It's like, you need a whole system for VR to make that a thing, right? That's number one. But god damn, man, a VR MMORPG would be so nice to play. Not even sure how you would go about it though. Hand signs? God.
Where every dev is jumping on the bandwagon trying to cash in on their own MMO, like from 2004 to 2012. Are we, the players, the problem?
Yes.
Is corporate greed just taking over?
Yes.
Or are younger gamers with their shorter attention spans just not into MMO's long-winded progression?
Yes. It's like, all yes.
We'll get into all of that, but first, sponsor. Infinite
Yeah.
Magic Raid is the newest
Let's
and
go.
biggest idle RPG hero collector of 2022.
I mean, it really sucks, but like, we are moving in the mobile direction hardcore, right? So it's like, I don't know. I don't see too much of an optimistic future for MMORPGs. As much as I hope Ashes and League, like the Riot MMO, are gonna be like phenomenal, it's really hard to say, because like, what would you want in an MMORPG? A fantastic leveling experience? Okay, but leveling, like, well, but it's like, if you make it too long, no one will want to make alternate characters. If you make it too short, it's not good enough, right? And you want the dungeons, you want the exploration. It's like, the only way I see like an MMORPG actually being like bringing back that need to explore and stuff like that is you would have to an extent randomly generated zones. So for example, you have a massive cave, you go into it, but like as you, let's say, open the door, the dungeon instantly, like, well, dungeon, whatever you want to call it, like a solo encounter, just in, like, you know, while there are players in there, it just generates a map, right? And when all players leave, it will reset and like they'll generate a different map with different monsters, something like that, right? So it's like, it'll be interesting to explore. But even then, it's never really random. It just chooses from like a, what's it called? From a set of pre-made maps, right? So I don't know, like, what would bring the sense of exploration back? It's really hard, right? Like, if you look at like a new expansion, wow, like there's no sense of exploration. Oh, it's a new zone, bro. I'm just fucking charging to max level, right?
Enter the
Same with like Final Fantasy. I wasn't really keen on exploring at all. The only exploration I did was to find those ether currents so I can get flying. But I never really like looked, because I knew there are no real secrets in the world. There's nothing real to explore.
Closed Continent, a fantasy world with charming, stylized graphics, full of mystery,
League.
magic, and evil to defeat.
Like 3D League,
To begin your adventure, you'll need a team of heroes, and in Infinite Magic Raid, there's over 200 of them spread across 10 factions.
Like the characters look like Lux-ish and Garen-ish, right?
Each with their own unique skills, personality, and high-quality
SSR,
3D model.
super rare.
Whilst easy to learn, Infinite
Super
Magic Raid has
rare.
highly strategic
Yeah.
battles, in which you'll need to learn how to build an effective team composition to counter your enemies. Some heroes synergize better
Summoners
together
War,
than
yeah.
others. Will you build a burst comp to nuke down enemies in seconds, or will you outlast them by using more tanks and healers?
Or you just make a dot team.
Infinite Magic Raid is packed with content, from competitive PvP arena to
Clearly
a sprawling main
overpowered.
campaign, fun minigames, dispatch missions, and most notably, the dungeons, which feature roguelike map exploration and plot development.
Interesting.
Consistency will be the key to success in this game. Play every
yeah.
day to collect AFK rewards, cultivate and challenge increasingly difficult enemies until you reach the top. Click the link in the description below to play Infinite Magic Raid now, and use gift code IM777 to get a ton of rewards displayed on screen that will give you a big advantage over anyone.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe like every time I see an advertisement for a mobile game, I should just like try it out on stream and see what it actually is like.
Who didn't see this video? Download now.
Alright.
For the past few years, MMO releases have
yeah.
felt something like this. A new game comes out, everyone's excited and hyping it up pre-launch.
Then check this out.
What is eternal?
Damn it!
Because even if the game's
That was good.
sucks long term, that new MMO feeling is always fun for a while. Maybe you get your old gaming group back together for launch, book some time off work, and within a week or two the cracks have
Everyone-
already started
yep.
to show,
Yep.
and the game's bleeding players.
Yep.
After going through this cycle,
And that's why I have no faith in a 1.0 iteration of any MMO. Just because that's what the industry has educated me to do. Like, I become extremely skeptical. I want to be hopeful. I want to be, I want to be like, oh shit, man, this is the game. But I can't, man. I want to be excited for the right MMO. I do. I think it has a lot of potential. But am I actually excited? No. It's like, I haven't been proven wrong yet. There hasn't been any MMO release 1.0 that was actually good in the last decade. Heck, maybe 2 decades.
over and over again, you start to get a sense of guilt that the time you scheduled off work probably could have been spent better with friends, family, or an actual vacation. But instead you just...
because it's a fucking, that's the problem. If the game feels like a chore, you feel like you just waste an opportunity to do something that you would actually consider fun. Hey, acceptance at long last. Andy C, thank you very much for subscribing.
wasted your time on another failed MMO, making you more and more jaded. New MMO releases nowadays almost never see a growing player base after launch.
Yeah.
It felt like MMOs during this time period did a much better job at retaining players and even gaining play.
I feel like the competition wasn't as stiff. It's also was less accessible to find a new game. So think about it this way. Internet was so shit back then that once you download a game, you kind of want to stick with it. You still have floppy disks at this time, okay? You don't even have a lot of space on your computer. You can't really check multiple games in one go. Right now you can have 20, fuck 20. You can have 100 games on your hard drive and you would never play any one of them, but you can have 100 games. Back then you could have maybe 4 games on your computer before your memory runs out. So it's you have to play them, right? It's because otherwise you delete them.
In recent years, the only MMO I can think of that's actually managed to gain players is Final Fantasy XIV.
Konnichiwa, you magnificent bastards!
Are people just fundamentally bored of the MMO formula? Why do so many games feel empty and repetitive? What's happened to us, and how has game design changed in the last 20 years? Well, for one, we have changed.
Yeah.
Like a pack of rabid dogs, we're jumping on every nugget of information whenever a new MMO is announced. Early access, oversharing development updates, and open betas.
I really hope they would stop oversharing. I want some mystery about a game. I want, for example, Ashes, as much as I appreciate that they're giving all this information stuff, keep a lot more on the wraps. If you're doing alpha, make it closed alpha. Don't show the game. Keep people in suspense. Keep people hoping. Keep them on the copium. Once you show them, it's no longer it's already a reality. It's well, so this is it, huh? I feel like they should stop showing these games. I hope Riot MMO just out of nowhere, it's oh, hey guys, we're launching next week. What the fuck? Obviously not give people time to schedule time off work or whatever, but don't if you have the beta test, the alpha test, whatever, make it closed with the DMCA and all that stuff. Make it so people cannot go and publish size if they're participating in the alpha and all that stuff.
Get us excited for the adventures to come, but also allow us to explore the world, theory craft builds, and map out leveling routes. So by the time a new MMO has fully released, we're ready to min-max the ever-living shit out of it. Less people played games that way back in the day. Do you remember being excited to get your first pair of shoulders back in Vanilla WoW? They looked like a rug at best and gave you nothing but armor. But to fill that empty slot after days of progress felt amazing. I bet there were times where you'd stray from the path just to kill random mobs in the world. Not because they were optimal XP, but because it was new and it looked at you funny.
I'm gonna kick your ass.
We haven't even touched on data mining yet, but let's just call this overarching change information pollution. The moment info is leaked or discovered, it's shared in the form of YouTube videos, Twitch live streams, tons of different guide websites, and word of mouth. This will not go away. And yes, I understand that I'm part of the problem here.
Yep.
Nowadays, there's much more of a financial incentive for people to create websites with in-depth guides on every aspect of an MMO. Achieving world first max level whilst live streaming on Twitch could potentially kick off a streaming career, and sponsors would happily pay thousands of dollars for a 90-second ad on a gaming video with a few 100k views. MMO developers need to find a way to make their games with enough complexity that simply watching guides won't necessarily make you succeed.
Not gonna happen.
Compared to older games, modern MMOs typically have a much more casualized open world and overall experience, to the point where going out and exploring doesn't feel dangerous. Unless you're inside a raid or doing some instanced challenge mode content, monsters in the world are usually trivial. Contrast this to EverQuest back in the day, where random mobs roaming the world would often require multiple players to take down. Developer time is often wasted by focusing on brainless target dummies across the world, in which killing them makes you feel absolutely nothing. If I attack a humanoid in WoW Classic, it will run away at low health, which not only makes sense realistically, but also makes you think about executing targets, or just simply not pulling monsters inside huge camps. Most games don't even think about simple interactions like that anymore. In the pursuit of accessibility, MMOs have kinda lost their sense of accomplishment.
Ironically, I believe that even WoW stopped doing that, like the monsters running away and shit. So.
During the leveling anyway.
No,
Also,
I don't think it's
is
a
it
fun
me,
mechanic.
or did older MMOs just feel bigger?
Jesus
Larger
Christ.
worlds, longer time to get to max level, more races, professions, dungeons,
Where did
mob
they
types
find
and
it,
quest lines? Have developers put less effort into making their MMOs ambitious due to so many failing over the years, and it being considered more risky to make an MMO compared to any other gaming genres from a financial perspective?
But I bet it is. The amount of stuff that goes into an MMO compared to any other game. The thing is, I feel like if you develop an MMO, you need to have a long-term goal of making more games out of the MMO world. Like, the reason Blizzard needs to keep WoW alive is for good faith. Not because the game is profitable. It's for good faith of the company. In my opinion, though, there's so much little faith in the company, they might as, like, they can just shut down. They can be like, you know what? We're now releasing Dragonflight. We're shutting down WoW. We're gonna open servers for all the expansions, and we'll keep servers alive, and that's it. I wouldn't even be surprised if literally, like, in a week they come out and say that. There's no faith in the company anymore. Obviously, they won't do it because of Microsoft, but the Microsoft might do that.
Games are made as a product nowadays more so than ever. Data analysis are at the forefront, with market and consumer behaviour studied to maximise player engagement and profit. Most MMOs from 1999 to 2012 used a subscription fee business model with no cash shop. This incentivized developers to make the game as good as possible, constantly pumping out updates to keep people handing over.
Everyone can thank EA and FIFA for ruining game shops, but yeah.
Money every month because they enjoy the game. This was fine until some developers realised they could take a different approach and see much larger profits. The free-to-play model, aka create problem to sell solution. For this to be successful, you want to create a low skill floor at the start of the game so players don't quit. In sub-fee MMOs, players are more likely to persist with difficulty because they've already paid the money and have committed to invest time into that game. Once a player is sufficiently invested into a free-to-play MMO, you can start to introduce the little annoying systems or inconvenience them in some way. Boring dailies, lack of inventory space, have every in-game obtainable outfit look like arse, cap the amount of dungeon entries you can do, the list goes on and on.
Oh my god,
At that point,
there was a game like that kept the amount of dungeons you could do in a day. Fuck, which one was it? It was so annoying, I quit that game right away. I do not remember what game it was, but oh my god, it was so dumb.
You can then sell them the solution. This is why games like Lost Ark have such arbitrary leveling experiences. It's simply to create a cheap feeling of investment so that players are more likely to spend money on the cash shop later on. Free-to-play MMOs have put developers against the players by making it financially beneficial to create problems to sell solutions.
Yep.
Whereas the old sub-fee MMOs, the developers are incentivized to give players the best game possible to keep them subscribed. For me, this is the biggest reason why MMOs from 1999 to 2012 just felt different. The business model just allowed these games to attempt to be...
The thing is, even if it's not true, even if they're still claiming or still are putting the effort, the player would probably feel like they're not, because you would think about logically, it's like, well, it doesn't make sense for them to put in so much effort into the game if they're making all this money from the shop. They're like, what for, right? They can just spend less and increase the profit margin. It would just make sense.
The best versions of themselves. Whilst modern MMO monetization sounds greedy and malicious, it often is, by the way.
When I look out over the next decade, I see more opportunity for our company than I...
To play devil's advocate, it's bloody expensive to make an MMORPG.
Yep.
More so than any other genre of game.
Yep.
Some MMOs have taken 7 to 9 years of development time to make,
Yep.
and cost close to $200 million.
And some of them were never released. So it was just a song, like they just threw away the money.
Many failed MMOs never made back their development
Yep.
costs in revenue before being shut down. So with many examples of failures over the past few years, there's increased pressure from investors for a company to make back that money as quickly as possible, even if it damages the integrity of the game in the process. Think about it. Why would you invest 50 to 100 mil over 7 years to make an MMO that may or may not be successful,
Yep.
when you could invest less than 1 mil to make a mobile game that will probably see you 10x your investment within 2 years?
Not even a mobile. A shooter doesn't even take that much. Once you have the physics good down, like that's it. You're good to go. What does shooters cost to make? 10 million or some shit? And they're more pick up and play. They're more player friendly in that sense. So you're just like, well, I only have 20 minutes to play. Log in, shoot some guys, go do your business. MMO, bro, if you have like an hour of free time, you're not even logging into an MMO. It's like, bro, I only have an hour to have fun. I am not gonna achieve anything in an hour in MMO. Not even like a Mythic Plus.
Unfortunately, as gaming monetization has changed, the risk versus reward just isn't there for MMO investment nowadays like it used to be back when it was the hype genre. So is there any hope? Will we ever see MMOs become the hype bandwagon genre again? Is the fantasy of what's portrayed in Sword Art Online, Ready Player One or Overlord a real possibility in the future? Or would those games actually be ruined by pay to win in reality?
Dude, I want what he's on. I can't wait for those treadmills, the VR treadmills, to be like affordable to like everyday people.
Well, as for the short term, we actually do have a few MMOs in development by massive teams. You've got the Riot MMO, Soulframe by Digital Extremes. As much as New World hasn't lived up to the hype, at the very least...
And the thing is, so Soulframe, for example, the game, Warframe, overall liked by the community. Only problem is because it doesn't really feel pay to win-ish, even though it is, but the pay to win, like you can do the campaign without the prime frames, right? So it's like it's not the big deal. But the problem is it's super grindy. It is so grindy, it's crazy. Like you have to do the same mission hundreds of times to get upgrades and shit. It's like it's really, really grindy. And I really hope that is not their mentality for the mmoRPG.
It's improving, adding new content, and still isn't pay to win. And you've also got the possibility of successful entrepreneurs who are passionate about the genre making their own MMOs, as we've seen with Ashes of Creation. Maybe one of those games will absolutely pop off and more studios will jump on the bandwagon to appeal to...
Maybe, but the problem is the way, like, you have to define what pop off means, because for something like Ashes, pop off can be like 100,000 players at most, because it's really not appealing for like regular players. It is way too slow, way too punishing. I don't know how the loot system works, but I'm saying like the world is punishing, right? You put your time and invest your efforts into build a node, and then you don't even make it to like the level 4 node and just gets destroyed, shit like that, right? So
to the
it's
new
hard to say.
generation of MMO gamers, if that
Or it could be fantastic. Again, like I can't say for sure. It's like I'm just saying what can be the bad part about it.
doesn't happen, we're surely going to reach the point with AI and technology that MMOs just become easier and easier to make.
Could be.
Unreal Engine 5 has made significant improvements to the development pipeline of games. There's a worry that AI-generated art is going to ruin the art industry.
Bruh.
And there's a worry that AI-generated art is going to ruin the art industry.
Bro. But it's getting smarter. And this is actually like one of those things where it's like, so you know how like I guess Elon Musk was talking about, where it's like we are moving in a direction where like you would have AI doing a lot of the chores, so we are technically gonna move into a direction of what do you call it, like distribution of money just to people, right? It's like you get a salary for being alive, because robots are going to do most of the hard jobs anyways. Technically, maybe robots will be making, like AI is just going to start making video games, right? You never know. And they can probably do it a lot faster because like they don't have to type shit. It's just like code, boom, done.
Bruh.
And computers are still becoming more powerful every year. Perhaps one day in the future we can just tell AI what we want in a game, and it will be able to do hundreds of hours of artwork, asset design and coding within a few minutes, vastly reducing the amount of time it takes to actually make an MMO, the costs associated with it, and as a result improving the risk versus reward of such a venture for investors.
Intrepid.
I think this is all just a matter
It's a really cool office though. Here's a picture of him and his girl. Dang.
of time, really. If we got to that point and it became easy to make MMOs, perhaps they would become less pay to win due to there being more competition in the market.
It does look good though.
But honestly,
Though I love capes, man. Capes need more love in MMORPGs.
that's just pure hopium on my part.
Yeah.
I'm not
It is
sure
what
it's
it is.
possible to put the monetization genie back in the bottle at this point. So let's just say we do see MMOs become the hype genre again. What would those games look like? Would they be drastically different to MMO design of old? Or would they go back to a more classic design?
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Will developers ever be able to solve rampant RNT in almost every game? Is it possible to develop a new MMO and have it not be completely ruined by data mining before it's fully released? And what kind of MMO would actually appeal to today's meta-mentality gaming audience? Thick ass thighs. Truthfully, I don't think we know the answer, but it's probably a game that's able to play to the strengths of what made people fall in love with MMOs in the first place. The idea of an alternate
that Free
reality, a second life where you escape from your day job, a game that can make you feel invested over a long period of time due to overcoming adversity, and a game designed in a way where the developers aren't acting against the interests of the players for profit. I want to see the next big MMO bring back that sense of awe you had when you saw a player on the server with some crazy legendary item that nobody else has.
You can still get that. You go to private servers that they sell personalized legendaries for money. You pay like $300 and you can get like a very unique, with unique appearance, you know, legendary weapon. But yeah, getting Warglaives of Azeroth, I'm very happy for the first person who got it and was super excited to like walk around with both of them. But at the same time, there were 24 other people in that raid. A few of them could have gotten it too, but they didn't. Right? So,
A game that brings back
So it
social
sucks.
interaction, friction between players, and a good mix of content from casual to ultra hardcore. Remember,
I'd say the biggest curse of MMORPGs is we can gather information too fast and too much of it, to the point where there's no sense of mystery. There's no sense of like, oh my god, how did he get these weapons? Now it's like, oh, what is that? Okay, let me Google it. Oh, that's how you get it? Okay, I'm gonna set out and get it, right? It's like, it's not as interesting anymore to do these things.
Back in the day when MMOs were so popular that you'd actually see ads for them on mainstream TV.
Bro, so good.
That's just like MapleStory. The free online game where you get to hang out with friends and experience the out of the ordinary.
What the fuck is this?
By the way, what the hell happened with all the badass PvP montages from back in the day?
There's still a channel, like I saw a YouTube channel that still does it. It's not it, man. It's not it. I love watching like Hammer of Wrath just fucking massacring people as they run away on a holy pally or some shit. That was great, but it was great. That's all it is. It was. Right? It's not so great anymore.
Why don't people make them anymore? Invest in the players, invest in the world, invest in social interaction and organic content. If the players can create their own fun, overcome their own challenges, then waiting for the next roller coaster ride to release every 6 months won't feel so draining and repetitive. How do long-term WoW or Final Fantasy players not completely burn out of their games? Guilds, friend circles, roleplay, completionism, raiding and PvP, most of which include some sort of social interaction. Allow the players to create their own storylines.
I'm a paladin with 18 charisma and 97 hit points.
18 charisma. Where's charisma from? Runsky?
I can use my Helm of Disintegration and do 1d4 damage as my half-elf mage wields his +5 Holy Avenger.
Paladins can't use the Helm of Disintegration.
Drama between guilds fighting for territory, full-time crafters, gatherers, full-focused raiders, a ruthless PvP gladiator, or maybe I could make a name for myself ERPing in some degenerate player-made dungeon for coin. Ultimately, I guess the question is, will players adapt to a more modern approach to MMOs, or is it old-school design philosophy that will prevail in the end? When will the glory days of MMOs return? Only time will tell. Hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Let me know what you think about the future of MMORPGs in the comments below.
Good video.
Smash that like button whilst inhaling an unhealthy dose of hopium for the algorithm gods, and social media on screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I don't think they are returning though. Like overall, I feel like gaming as a whole is kind of in a stalemate. Like it's not more popular, it's not less popular, it's just is kind of thing. It's like it's popular and it's like more accepted, but it also, because it's accepted, it's not something special, right? Before it's like you were the geek who plays video games. It's kind of like you had a title, you know, you had an official title in school. I don't know, like but it's like I could be also getting older, so it's hard for me to tell. Like I know lots of people playing mobile games because like they can do it all the time. But, man, I don't know. As far as mmoRPGs go, I feel like it will become more of a niche, kind of like how RPG games are now. They're more of a niche game because you can't just pick up and play. That's the biggest issue with mmoRPGs. It's not a pick up and play type of game. And especially how people are now, it's like they don't have a lot of time to play. They have like 30 minutes. Okay, like what can I play in 30 minutes? Okay, turn this on, shoot a few people, leave, you know. Maybe a league game when you have 40 minutes, right? It's like one match. But it's like logging into an MMO, you're like, bro, like I have the dailies, I have the weekly, I have this. Like you have so many chores that like by the time you figure out what you want to do, you run out of time. I don't know how to solve this. I don't think you can solve this. I think mmoRPGs not necessarily gonna die, but they'll become like a niche. You're always gonna have like 1 or 2 or 3 mmoRPGs that are big. Everything else kind of come and go, and then they'll just switch and stuff. But overall, I don't think they're also like not very profitable overall compared to other games. I really hope I'm wrong. It's a win-win situation. Either I'm wrong, which is great, or I'm right, which is also great because I like being right. Who doesn't like being right? But yeah, anyways, that's the video. TheLazyPeon, one of the greatest of all times when it comes to mmoRPG content. Anyways, take it easy and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.